च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the establisher of the universal religion. Let us pray to the divine to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Today's topic, Sri Ramakrishna, the great exemplar. Every time, in every age, people fall from the ideal. They are not able to sustain the high quality of spirituality. They will be pulled down to lower levels, causing immense sorrow and suffering to the people. Unless they take care to practice the values in life, from the beginning of the life, it would be very difficult in the later stage to hold on to the high level of life. So suffering as well as happiness, both are in our own hands. If we don't know how to live the life properly, we suffer. If we know the technique of living the life, then we become happy. So heaven and hell both are in this world. It is left to us how we make use of this world. So as and when people fall down from the highest ideal of spirituality, when they forget about the invisible guiding force of the divine, God Himself, out of His infinite compassion for the creation, embodies Himself, comes to the level of humanity, from the high state of sattvic to the state of rajas. The Lord, the divine being, embodies Himself. The divine being assumes forms, different forms in different ages, according to the need of the time. So we find when there is transgression of the values in life, when there is high incidence of crime and all sorts of terrible activities, it makes necessary for the divine being to assume a form, to come to us, to show us the way out of the darkness of life. So Sri Ramakrishna has come now to establish harmony, to show to the people how, even though practicing different religions, should be able to live peacefully with mutual respect and dignity. The noble qualities are infinite. So each religion has a set of noble values to present to the society. Every religion has got those words of wisdom, the knowledge which would enrich our life, which would bring peace and harmony in our life. Every religion has these elements which would gather all these elements in different religions, form a beautiful necklace, and wear that ornament which will protect from all dangers and all sorts of negative influence. That would make us live a happy life. But we need a person to show that life. When people are losing faith in the divine being, situation and circumstances occur, we will be able to accept the existence of the reality. The incarnations come to show to the world the existence of the divine being and the importance of living together in a peaceful way. So Sri Ramakrishna has come to show to the world how the different religions all lead to the same goal. His inexhaustible fund of spiritual realizations is not only a marvel but a source of inspiration to the whole world. The great spiritual heritage and its catholicity are known clear to us by his realizations. Sri Ramakrishna is an incarnation who has come to lead mankind in the way of peace and truth. So Sri Ramakrishna has descended on this earth to stem the tide of religious anarchy. Even in our modern times, how much there is hatred amongst ourselves, among different communities, different races and religions. Why should there be? But people have no patience to think at all. People, even though they think at times, are not serious about the practical implication of what they think about. So Sri Ramakrishna has come to show through his own life how not only the values of different religions could be realized, but also how they could be led in our daily life. Herein comes the importance of Vedanta, which deals with the human aspiration of freedom. We are all aspiring for freedom. Freedom and bondage, both are lying with us. We ourselves are tying by ropes, putting ourselves in bondage on account of our ignorance, folly, and again it is in our hands to cut off this rope of bondage, to get release. The mystery is somehow we have come to this body, somehow we have become embodied, somehow we are in bondage. We don't know the reason, but we don't know how to get out of it. It has become one way. Somebody has to come to show us the opposite way. That is, somebody has to show us the way to liberation. It is very hard to find out this path. Herein we require the guidance from spiritual masters who come very frequently to help humanity. Sri Ramakrishna's whole constitution, body, mind, everything was dedicated to the spiritual goal. That means through his practical life he has shown to us that we should have our goal fixed. What is that? To attain liberation. To get that highest experience by which we get liberated. He has set this model before us. Whatever may be the subsidiary goals we may have in order to sustain our life, We may become engineers, we may become doctors, we may become some professionals. Perfectly all right. But our main goal should be to have that divine experience in this very life. We must consciously see that we get liberation. I must enjoy that experience in this very life. So that goal should be fixed properly, and we must direct all our activities in such a way that they take us towards that goal. Sri Ramakrishna, he was immaculately pure from his very birth. He was averse to mere bread-winning education. That is, he was not satisfied with ordinary type of education which deals nothing spiritual, which always tries to divert our attention externally, which makes us seek more and more comforts and luxury in the world. He intensely yearned for the vision of the Divine Mother. Intense yearning, a basic quality in spiritual life that is necessary to have the vision. Sri Ramakrishna had wonderful realizations of God following tantric and bhakti disciplines. Finally, of course, he attained nirvikalpa samadhi through practicing the discipline of non-dualism. But he never stopped at that. Normally, people, when they reach that highest state of nirvikalpa samadhi, where the mind gets dissolved and the individual soul merges in the universal soul, enjoying the immense peace and joy, that individual being doesn't feel the necessity of coming down again to the lower level. So he is just satisfied in the final liberation, and thus he makes his life blessed. But the divine Supreme Spirit is concerned about every human being, every individual in the creation. Everyone is very dear to him. So he wants to see that every individual should come up to that highest level. But somebody should guide them, and the incarnations take the trouble of guiding the people towards that highest realization. So, Sri Ramakrishna returned from that highest state of experience of truth to the threshold of relative consciousness for the good of humanity. But then we must understand one factor here, that even though the incarnations come, it is not that all people would run away from their home, everything, and sit at the feet of the incarnation and learn and get themselves blessed. It's not that simple. Only those who aspire in the spiritual life, they only feel attracted, feel fascinated towards the great spiritual masters and adopt the teachings into their life. Ordinarily, the people who do not want anything about spirituality, their whole aim and goal in life is to have a wonderful living, enjoy the life. That's all. They are not seriously concerned about what happens to me after my death, etc. They are not even aware of death. They think they are stationed here permanently. Whatever they have earned, whatever they have worked for, everything belongs to them. This kind of possession makes them forget the spiritual ideal, and they have to go a long way to turn to spiritual path. Only after passing through severe experiences in their life, severe crisis in their life, people have to learn through crisis. Some may not even learn through crisis even, but generally they learn. Then again, the divine intervention will be always there. The divine spirit knows how each individual being is to be saved from terrible situation. Without the grace of the divine being, nobody can do anything in this world. Nothing is possible. So Sri Ramakrishna, in order to become guide to everybody, to all religions, what he did was, his quest for truth continued. He followed the ways of Islam and Christianity. He arrived at the same truth which he had experienced in other spiritual paths. And the outcome of all his experience is that his famous integrating message, as many faiths, so many paths to the Supreme Divine. As a result of his deep and unbroken communion with God, Sri Ramakrishna was filled with profound wisdom. People of all faith would come to him and get wonderful instructions from him. His whole personality was the expression of his finest spiritual achievements. His practice of Dasya Bhakti, considering the divine spirit as the master and himself as a servant, got him the clear vision of Sita, the personification of love, sorrow, compassion and endurance, which are all well manifested in Sri Ramakrishna's own life. His self-surrender to God results in deep humility. Thirdly, his love for humanity and his exquisite courtesy arise from his realization of his oneness with all creation and constant awareness of the divinity in all. To Sri Ramakrishna, no one was a confirmed sinner. Even the person who has committed most heinous crime, the divine spark is there, which can transform the whole being if it is awakened, if it is kindled. The spark is there. It should be kindled. The spiritual masters come to awaken, to rekindle this spark, spiritual spark, divine spark that is in us, in every one of us. Sri Ramakrishna himself, above the trials and tribulations of the world, but yet he takes on the sufferings and misery of others. He is not to suffer at all, but he takes the sufferings of others and suffers for the sake of the people. There is a wonderful verse in the 1,000 Names of Divine Mother. There are 1,000 names of gods and goddesses: Vishnu, Krishna, Shiva, Durga, like that. And the verse which I am quoting now is from Lalita, the another name of the Divine Mother. There it defines the nature of the Divine Mother. Nirmama mamata hantri nishpapa papakash papanashini nishkrodha krodha shamani nirlobha lobhanashini. It's a really remarkable verse. See, in Indian tradition, there are Vedas, Upanishads, rituals. Rituals are meant to guide the human beings in the spiritual path, satisfying all their little desires. That is the way of rituals. And rituals also make people develop the love of God. Rituals help people to concentrate on the deity through worship and uttering the stotras of the deities. Upanishads deal with the impersonal aspect of the divine. Who is that individual being? Is he male? Is he female? What is it then? How do you identify it? What is the nature of this? That's why it is termed as Atman, which is translated in English as spirit. Atman, it is not dry, it is Chaitanya, it is full of life. It is consciousness itself. It is all pervading consciousness, the universal consciousness. Just as the energy is all pervading, the whole universe is fully manifested with energy. We are finding out methods to distinguish this energy, to sort it out, different aspects of energy, and apply them to our various types of activities. Such as you find electrical energy, magnetic energy, so many types of energy, kinetic energy, static energy. Innumerable varieties are there. There are many areas which have not been found out. So there is no end to the science. The more they explore, the more still is there to explore. Everything leads to infinity. Is there end to the comforts? No. Go on multiplying, multiplying, multiplying. no end. Take anything, no end. Suffering, no end. Joy, no end. More joy, more joy. Like suffering also, more suffering, more suffering. Everything leads to infinity. That's it. So Upanishad deals with such subject. The nature of Atman, how it's to be realized, what is the meaning of freedom, what is the meaning of bondage. All sorts of things are discussed there. And the next is Puranas. In fact, Vyasa Maharshi has given this wonderful literature to us. The United Nations organization have established a separate board with prominent editors, and they are translating these Upanishads, these Puranas into English. It's a remarkable work, splendid, I should say. Already about 5, 6, 7 Puranas have already come. Shiva Purana and Brahmanda Purana and Padma Purana, all these things have already come out. In fact, we have got in our library in Chicago. I don't know whether they are here. In our bookstore we have got. So, beautifully translated, word by the Sanskrit verses are nicely translated. What is the content of these Puranas? How they are relevant to the people? They are very much relevant. People in the lower level, they need such literature where it deals with the case, it deals with the story of people, how they have to worship particular God, in what manner they should worship, in what ways, what are the ingredients and what are the benefits. Everybody can get that. So it inspires you. Suppose if I read, it inspires me. Why not I try? That it's a kind of rekindling our spiritual inclinations, our aspirations. It has got wonderful effect. Suppose he is a devotee of Lord Shiva. Shiva Purana is there, which deals with all the stories connected with Shiva, wherein his devotion towards Shiva is enhanced. He can worship God with one-pointed devotion. Anyway, all these scriptures have got wonderful effect. It all depends upon how we practice them in our life. Practicing is very important. Theory and practice must go together. If I say I must be truthful, I must practice it, truthfulness. Then it has got value. That's the point. So value-oriented scriptures, all these scriptures are value-oriented. To teach you values, these scriptures have come up. These scriptures are the life stories of many people. Even our life also becomes a story after 100 years. Who will know? Who is Chidananda? Is it real that he was here? People can ask. Why not? As we ask, is it real that Krishna was here? Rama was here? Is it real Jesus was here? Everything becomes story after some time. That's the law of nature. Now here, in this particular verse, how great spiritual idea is explained. The divine nature of the mother is given here. Nirmama mamata hantri. That is, the divine mother herself is free from ego. But mamata hantri destroys the ego of others. She has no ego herself, but she destroys the ego of others. Nishpapa papanashini. Herself she is free from sins. but destroys the sin of others. Nishkrodha, Krodha Shamani. She herself is free from anger. She removes the anger of others. Nirlobha, Lobhanashini. She is not greedy, but destroys the greed of others. See, Sri Ramakrishna's exalted state is exactly like this. His life is like the holy river Ganga, purifying the worlds. The radiant purity of his life has an universal appeal and message. And the full significance, his great teachings teach us. That will be realized more and more with the passage of time. Sri Ramakrishna's life's message is threefold. One is his reaffirmation of the truths of our scriptures. Secondly, his reconciliation and synthesis of different paths and philosophies given therein. Thirdly, his insistence on sadhana or spiritual disciplines. Spiritual sadhana, he is very particular about that. Once he called one of his disciples in the evening time. The disciple did not respond. Next day, morning, that particular disciple came. Sri Ramakrishna asked him, well, yesterday evening I called you, but you were not to be found. What had happened to you? And that particular disciple was very straightforward, simple, humble. He said, Master, I was sleeping. Sleeping? If you sleep like this, can you realize God? Can you achieve your goal in this lifetime if you do like this? That was enough. From that time onwards, that particular disciple never slept all night throughout his life. That was Swami Adbhutananda. It is there on one of the photos. So, practicality. And that disciple meant he has come to Sri Ramakrishna to live the life, not simply to hear through 1 year and let it off through another year. It's not just to have some kind of chatting and go away. No. Spiritual discussion is not chatting. Chatting has got different effect. Spiritual discussion has ennobling effect. So every word of Sri Ramakrishna was word of wisdom, which was being attended to very cautiously, carefully by all the disciples. So Sri Ramakrishna practiced all these different systems. Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, Advaita. There are 3 major different stages in the process of the unfoldment of the individual soul. Each of these pathways includes many branches of sadhanas to suit individual taste and temperament. All paths from idol worship to the Advaitic sadhana of non-dualism are given their rightful place and prominence and are shown to have their own usefulness. No sadhana which has proved its worth can be discarded. Sri Ramakrishna emphasized that an aspirant who is attracted by one religious path should consider that all other paths are equally true and lead to the same goal. Again, in Bhagavata we got a very good verse to confirm this statement of Sri Ramakrishna, wherein it is stated, Shraddham Bhagavate Shastrehe Anindamanyatra Chapihi. That is, one should cherish faith in the knowledge that celebrates the Lord, but at the same time should not despise other holy scriptures. This is the statement of Bhagavad, one of the famous Puranas. Sri Ramakrishna has beautifully reconciled the age-long dispute whether God is with form or without form. He reaffirms the truths given in our scriptures, that God appears to his devotees in whatever form he is worshipped. It is individual relationship that is important. What is needed is sincerity and yearning for the vision of the divine. Again, in Bhagavata there is one more verse which I wanted to explain in this regard. Tvam bhavayoga paribhavita hrit saroja asse shutekshita patho nanu nata pumsam yaddhiyacha urugaya vibhavayanti tattad vapuhu pranayase sadanugrahaya. O Lord, you live in the lotus of your devotees' hearts, purified by means of loving devotion for you. You are one whose way is perceived through the study of the Vedas, and in order to show your grace to the righteous, you manifest yourself in whatever form they contemplate on you. Sri Ramakrishna's life is a demonstration that Hinduism is an intensely practical religion. Mahatma Gandhiji said, the story of Sri Ramakrishna's life is a story of religion in practice. His life enables us to see God face to face. Sri Ramakrishna undertook various sadhanas given in our holy scriptures and confirmed the religious experiences that enable the aspirant to lead a fuller and a richer life here and now. He is enabled to become one with God in this life itself. Not book knowledge or intellectual conviction or ratiocination, but renunciation and meditation alone will lead one to the divine. Again, there is a verse in the Bhagavad. Prahlada, a great devotee of the Divine Lord, says, Nalam dvijatvam devatvam rushitvam vasuratmajaha Prinanaya mukundasya navrittan nabhugyata nadanan natapo nejya nashaucham navratanicha priyate amalaya bhaktya hariranyad vidambanam. That is, Prahlada, the great devotee of Lord Vishnu, he is telling to his friends, one might be a Brahmin, a celestial being, or a sage, or well established in character. One might be a man of extensive learning. One might engage himself in charity. One might be following religious austerity. One might be performing sacrifices. One might be pure. One might observe vows. He would be able to bring satisfaction to Lord Krishna. The Lord is pleased only by means of unalloyed devotion. Without devotion, the other things appear to be mere matter. To realize God, there are so many ways, but the path of devotion is the easiest. Sri Ramakrishna himself has said, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Marga is very easy to follow. He has brought religion from the Himalayan heights to dwell in the plains. His sayings are so profound and yet so simple and homely that they not only make the common man to understand the great Upanishadic truths, but also into him the faith necessary for its practice. Whether he be a householder or a monk, young or old, poor or rich, whatever his creed or class, he finds in Sri Ramakrishna's teachings great source of inspiration. Every sentence, every word of his is permeated by the Spirit of God. If one reads daily his sayings, no other scriptures or shastras are needed, since by reading Sri Ramakrishna's sayings, God at once enters the heart of the yearning aspirant. It is impossible to estimate the help which sadhakas receive from him through his teachings. Even when Sri Ramakrishna was alive, how many itinerant monks came to Dakshineshwar in those days to draw inspiration from him or to get confirmation of the truths of their various religious experiences. Sri Ramakrishna became the Guru of the Gurus. He could at once find out the spiritual worth of an aspirant and help him according to his best, according to his bent and genius. He would take the aspirant from where he stands. A mere touch, word or glance would kindle the latent spirituality of an aspirant. Dakshineshwar, where Sri Ramakrishna practiced spirituality, became a place of pilgrimage to all earnest souls. Men, women, pandits, intellectuals, reformers, they all thronged to see and hear him. People listened to him with reverence, since his words were so full of wisdom, simplicity and beauty. Now, there are two areas. One is science, the other is religion. Both science and religion have this much in common. What is that? Both want to probe the mysteries of nature. This spirit of inquiry and search is due to the basic urge in man to improve himself by a conscious mental and spiritual effort. But science wants to conquer external nature, whereas religion aims at the conquest of self or one's own inner nature. From time immemorial, these two different aspects of the same spirit of inquiry have striven for mastery. For these two opposing cultures The material and spiritual proceed from two different assumptions. What are they? Materialism assumes that human happiness and welfare lie in external conquests, whereas spiritual culture asserts that they lie in conquering first oneself. One who conquers oneself will conquer the whole world. There is a beautiful story in the Bhagavad. There was once upon a time a terrible person of superhuman strength, a giant full of pride and arrogance. His name was Hiranyakashipu. He had so much of strength and so much of power, he became crazy. He began to defy everybody. He began to feel himself, there is no one superior to him. Who is God? It is me. I am doing everything. It is my power that is working. I am the master of that power. Who can challenge me? Who dares to challenge me? In fact, he went and defeated many angels in the heavens, full of pride and egotism. Now, we should understand this very important point. That is, here Hiranyakashipu was a personification of material culture. He had everything, whatever that he wanted. Comforts, luxury, power, name, power, position, what not. Whatever that man aspires in this material world, he had them fully, which made him completely drunk, which made him mad. So he had a wonderful son. His name was Prahlad, whose whole being was vibrating with the name of Lord Vishnu. Quite opposite. In a fit of anger, he asked his son, well, why are you always uttering the name of Vishnu? Who is that Vishnu? Who is that God? Where is that God? I have conquered all the worlds, even gods of earth and air, water and fire, Agni Deva, Vayu Deva, Varuna Deva, all these gods that tremble before me. Even the Panchamahabhutas are under my control. If I want, the wind will blow. Nobody can go against my wish. Counting on whose help you dare to rebel against my authority. Prahlada's reply was very significant. He said, Tasyun pura shanna vijitya lumpato manyanta eke swajita disho dasha jitatmano jnasya samasya dehinam sadhoho swamoha prabhavaha kutah pare. Again from Bhagavad. And he is telling, Father, you are asking about who is that God? Who controls everything? He who is the Supreme God, the Supreme Spirit, the controller of everything, including all gods, angels. He is the source of power to me. Nay, He is the source of power also to yourself. You are boasting that power is because of you. No, it is because of the divine spirit. The power belongs to Him. All the world's mobile and immobile creation have all been under His sway by His own power. He is the Supreme Being. He is the eternal time. His power is the greatest. That Supreme Being, the Lord of the three essential principles, namely Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, by means of His own energy, creates, preserves and destroys this universe. The whole activity of the universe is being done by that supreme power. Please mend your asuric nature and make your mind equable. There exists no greater enemy to one than his own unsubdued mind, which always goes astray from the right path. Holding the mind evenly constitutes the great and perfect adoration of the Supreme Being. Some people, in their delusion, like yourself, referring to his father Hiranyakashipu, without first having conquered the robbers, like the 6 rampant passions that rob us all our possessions of valuable things. Who are those 6 robbers? You know this. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, anger, greed, etc. These 6 robbers are there. Think themselves as conquerors of all the 10 cardinal quarters. But the pious man who has subdued his 6 passions looks upon all creatures equal. He has no enemies. So that is the fantastic gulf of difference, gulf of gap between materialism and spirituality. Quite opposite direction. Material culture and spiritual culture both take person in different ways. One drowns the man, the other saves the man. Materialism drowns the man. Spiritual culture saves the man. Spiritual masters come to show us how to save ourselves. Sri Ramakrishna's insistence on spiritual discipline and inner purification is a reassertion of the truth that conquest of self not only includes but also should precede conquest of external nature. Simply because modern science has pushed the boundaries of the unknown further from us, we should not think that we have conquered nature. So long as our passions of greed and selfishness are unconquered, our outer conquest will only be the material for the exercise of inner barbarisms. We become more brutal, more hard, more selfish because of the material advancement. Let us by all means learn the valuable truths of science. We don't want to neglect science. Material prosperity and progress are quite necessary for human welfare, but they have their use and meaning only when the virtues like sympathy and forbearance, love and peace reign supreme in the hearts of people. And these virtues baffle scientific analysis. and transcend the limits of purely ethical codes of conduct. They belong to the realm of spirit, and they can be realized only by putting ourselves in tune with the infinite. This is the great message of Sri Ramakrishna. Become aware of your spiritual nature. Don't be carried away by external forces of materialism and all such things. Our great rishis have given us from time to time smritis. It is a code of conduct to preserve our time-old traditions intact without deviating from the eternal truths of our Vedas, but in consonance with Yuga Dharma. Religion sustained and guided all our mundane activities from the cradle to the grave. It was a companion in joy and consolation in sorrow. That's the beauty of religion. All creative impulses centered around religion, music, sculpture, painting, poetry, and sciences of astronomy and medicine. We prayed for the peace and prosperity of all the peoples of the world. We even thought of all creation as forming 5 strata of hierarchy and gave our offerings to them daily. These Panchamahabhutas, kings and nobles, weighed with each other in honoring and obeying men of God. Then learning was synonymous with piety and purity. If we have survived the ravages of time and vicissitudes of political conquests, it's because of those cultural traditions which exalted spirit over matter. Quest for God and eternal truth above the dictates of temporal power and political expediency. It is to uphold these great spiritual traditions and to deliver us from the enveloping darkness of materialism. Sri Ramakrishna appeared. He is a unique personality in India's cultural history. He combines in himself the heart of Buddha, the Parabhakti of Chaitanya, and the intellect of Shankara. He is a fulfillment of the promise given by the Lord Krishna in the Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. Chapter 4, verse 7 and 8. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya yuge sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever there is a decline of dharma and a rise of adharma, then I embody myself for the protection of the good, for the destruction of the wicked, and for the establishment of dharma. I am born from age to age. These are the words of the Lord Krishna, the Divine Supreme. The purpose of an avatar is also to give a first-hand interpretation of our scriptures to the world, for the correct and effective understanding of the true imports of different scriptures of the world, which are often so tangled and confusing. Better guidance than what emanates from the life and teachings of Sri Ramakrishna is inconceivable. Sri Ramakrishna was the embodiment of renunciation. The great significance of renunciation was demonstrated through his life. Renunciation is verily the life of our life. We are in fact renouncing every moment without being aware of it. We are renouncing breath, that is to say, breathing in for breathing out, for the maintenance of our life. As blood collects in the heart through eating and other nourishment, so also at the same time it flows out into the arteries and veins in order to invigorate them. Otherwise, death is inevitable. So we are all practicing renunciation, though we don't know it. Whatever we receive from others or from nature, and whatever we earn, learning, knowledge of sciences, truths about the universe, riches and spirituality, is for the good of others, is for removing the wants of others. If we grudge giving or distributing to others without stint, what we have wastes away in course of time and is of no use to anybody. We must mark distribution, not exchange. A gift or an act of renunciation must be free, spontaneous, and bereft of any ulterior motive. Then only does it become productive of imperishable good. Vivekananda said, give away, do not seek return. Who seeks return, his ocean dwindles to a mere drop. To conclude my topic, standing on the bedrock of his own realizations, Sri Ramakrishna declared emphatically and unequivocally the great truth that the different religions are like so many paths leading to the same goal of God realization. He was modest and humble. He made a model of perfection. Through love, the golden thread that ties humanity, Sri Ramakrishna attained truth. He was a personification of purity, chastity, and embodiment of truthfulness. His life was a life of absolute renunciation. He is a prophet of freedom of conscience, harmony of faiths, religious toleration, and interracial amity. Sri Ramakrishna sought to experience each religion in its entirety in the sadhana or spiritual discipline. Now he would be a Muslim fakir with appropriate rituals, attitudes and garb, and now a Christian neophyte, stricken with a sense of sin and crying for salvation. There was nothing of mere pose or mere imagination in all this. Here was an individual soul who would enrich himself with all human experience in religious life and history. The most attractive feature of this teacher is the genuine spirit of research which he evinced throughout his life. He was a Shakta among the Shaktas, a Vaishnava among the Vaishnavas, Muslim among the Muslims, and a Christian among the Christians. So people belonging to all different faiths would come, revere him, and regard him as their own chosen ideal. Sri Ramakrishna's greatest contribution to the modern world of religious thought was to bring into it a note of definiteness. We find Sri Ramakrishna rising like a star of hope in the midst of chaos and confusion. His equipment and self-expression did not lie in erudition and intellectual cleverness, but in direct vision and perception. When we approach him, Sri Ramakrishna does not try to confuse our mind with theological doctrines and metaphysical implications. Instead, he gives us this unique and convincing statement: yes, I have seen God and known him, and furthermore, I can help you to see and know him. That's it. It was this definiteness of the Master that captivated his disciples, Swami Vivekananda and others. The Master was an entire explorer in the realm of spirit. His mind was peculiarly bent upon practical demonstration in regard to what is ordinarily termed the unseen. He gave himself wholly and completely for the purpose of discovering the end of all religions, and by so doing made himself a channel through which the infinite power flowed with unalloying charity. Sri Ramakrishna was the Messiah of spiritual democracy. A genuine Catholicity pervaded Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual consciousness. He was not satisfied with one-sided attainment. His spiritual realization included the wholeness of divinity and the allness of humanity. His mysticism proves that not only supermen may attain the highest, but even a common man may unfold his divinity. His methods are entirely unlike those of most of reformers. He does not strike, he does not denounce. By gentle, unaggressive and unpretentious means, he clarifies the whole atmosphere of doubt and fear and fills the mind with positive thoughts. Sri Ramakrishna demonstrates the great truth that every faith has its saving power, each its divine inspiration, a spiritual attraction and beauty. Sri Ramakrishna felt in actual life the redeeming power of faith and envisaged the invisible but eternal Church of God and the eternal religion of spirit in place of denominational churches and their credos. Sri Ramakrishna has given the gospel of spirit more than any theological creed or any philosophical theory. Sri Ramakrishna stressed the movement of spirit and its expression through the finer rhythm of the heart, the diviner movement of the will, and the luminous intuition of intellect. Sri Ramakrishna's famous dictum, "As many minds, so many pathways to God," has proved, as it is destined to prove for all times to come, the very Magna Charta of religious Catholicism, emancipating us from religious bigotry and intolerance. Sri Ramakrishna was the herald of the unity of spirit and matter. He realized that spirit and matter are one. It is even wrong to mention two names, two words. Matter is the expression of spirit, is a symbol of spirit, nay, more, is spirit. Sri Ramakrishna himself is a symbol of such richness and depth that he has to be realized, to be understood. Sri Ramakrishna is an appeal and inspiration. He makes a unique start and approach. His approach is completely spiritual. His uniqueness lies here. He has this advantage in his nature, and being that he can go beyond at once the mazes and intricacies of thought and start with a spiritual yearning which appears to intellectual men as wild fantasy, but which can wake up and move the psychic being in man, disclosing supermental truths beyond the reach of intellect and thought. Sri Ramakrishna is often therefore a puzzle to many who want to find logical consistency in place of spiritual felicity in his teachings. Sri Ramakrishna discovers the natural gravitation of life to spirit. It is this fine spiritual appeal that makes Sri Ramakrishna's life at once an attraction and a wonder. Sri Ramakrishna is a great apostle of spiritual struggle for human liberty. Of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, it may justly be said that from his lips came the religion that spiritualizes philosophy. There is no difference between the doctrines of Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda and the words of Saint Matthew. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Sri Ramakrishna's life inspires us to hush all notes of discord by emphasizing this central unity and making room for all the varieties of creeds that add to the beauty, richness, strength and grandeur of the house of religion. Sri Ramakrishna's life inspires us to remain strictly loyal to our individual churches and yet embrace the followers of all other creeds as fellow pilgrims on the path of blessedness. His life appeals to be a symbolic suggestion of a new era when all set-bound thoughts will be released, all narrowness and bigotry will disappear, when religion will be comprehended in terms of universal humanity, and all the varying notes issuing out of the different creeds of the world will combine to form a magnificent and undreamt of harmony of religions. That's Sri Ramakrishna's gospel of direct realization and experience, synthesis and harmony, reconciliation and acceptance, in toto, universal love and service, peace and righteousness, inspire and be echoed in the hearts of the Eastern and Western men and women alike. The glory of Sri Ramakrishna was that what he preached was not from the intellectual plane. His religion was not a philosophy of metaphysics, but his religion was the religion of realization. Thank you. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahano Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. May the Supreme Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May our activities be performed with full of spirit through His grace. May our studies kindle our knowledge. May we be in peace and harmony. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.